This morning I mentioned that this Mass was being offered for the intentions of the Portugrosa family. And the Portugrosas were people who I grew up with. In fact, their oldest son is my dearest friend. We've been friends since we were 4 years old. But it just occurred to me that Mrs. Portugrosa, her first name was Esther. And I didn't realize that until I heard the first reading, when Carol was reading the book of Esther. That's right, yeah. And so it was kind of well, not so much coincidental, I would say it's providential. So we'll be here from the book of Esther. And the book of Esther, there's only 2 books in the entire Old and New Testament that speak of the courageousness of women. And one is, of course, the book of Esther, and the other is the book of Ruth. So these are great books. And the book of Esther, and of course the story that we hear today, is just absolutely remarkable because Queen Esther, she was, the way she came about, how she became a queen is kind of a long run-out story. But the situation was this, that the Persians had occupied and had put the people into exile. And so here she was, this very, very powerful and influential person in the community of the Jews at the time. And she came to find that there was a plot that was out to destroy the Jewish people. And so she became aware of it, and what was she going to do? And so she approached the Persian king to tell him of this plot, which in those days was an absolutely verbal thing, because the Persian king, you never approached the Persian king, man or woman, and she was Jewish. Of course, he didn't know that at the time. But anyway, she went ahead and she loved her people so much that she pushed all of that aside, and she went to the man, and she told him of this plot. And of course, as the story goes, it all worked out, and those who were plotting against the Jewish people were destroyed, and everything worked out. But the whole point of the story was the incredible bravery of this woman to put all these things aside. She was such a righteous, good, and holy person, and she did what was correct. And as it worked out, in the end, everything did work out in the end, and evil was defeated. But a lot of times it doesn't work out that way. When you look at a lot of the lives of the martyrs, they were people who were just as good and wonderful and holy and brave and courageous. And they stood up, and they were championing those who were weak, and they still were executing. People like Maximilian Kolbe. When you think about him, and you think, my goodness, he was a good, self-righteous man, or not self-righteous, but a righteous man. And you think that things would work out, and he was still kind of executed. The whole point is, in spite of this terrible, terrible evil, these people rise up, and they do what is right, and they are truly acting as God's children, in spite of the evil that might be around them. Perhaps you've heard the story, I've shared this with you before this time of year, the story of the book by Chaim Potok, The Chosen. And read it. It's a great book. It's about 2 boys who are Jewish boys who grew up during the time of World War II. And one of them was a boy named Daniel. And Daniel's father was a great rabbi. And when Daniel grows up, he finds out that he has this incredible gift. He has a photographic memory. Boy, photographic memory. I forget things all the time. Can you imagine having a photographic memory? And this kid had a photographic memory. And from the time he was very, very small, he would not just read a book, he would consume the book. He just knew so much. So at the time, he was like 12 when he was getting ready to do his bar mitzvah. He knew more than the rabbis did. He knew his law, he knew Pentateuch, he knew Talmud, he knew it. He'd just read it once, it was in his head. And everybody was looking at the father of Daniel. Wow. He was a rabbi. Rabbi Saunders. Your son is absolutely brilliant. And of course, Rabbi Saunders threw out these rhetorical questions. And says, my son, a brilliant boy, I want for a son. A son gifted with a photographic memory, I want for a son. A son who is arrogant and thinks he's better than everybody else, I want for a son. Is that what I want for a son? What I want for a son? I want a good man for a son. I want a holy man for a son. I want a righteous man for a son. I want a humble man for a son. That is what I want in a son. And how am I about to go about righteous man that I want for a son. Powerful, powerful lessons that we have here, and things that I think that our God desires from us. You know, brilliant minds, wealthy people, powerful people, influential people, I want for my children. No. Righteous people, I want for my children. Good people, I want for my children. Holy people, I want for my children. People who are fair and loving and compassionate. That's what I want for my children. So it is for us today, and that's what we pray for today. Oh, there are a lot of things that we pray for from our God, but the most important thing is that again we become a person of worship, and we do pray that, especially during this Lenten season, we learn how to be good, compassionate, righteous people, children of God. Let's stand up and raise our petitions to our Lord.